this is going to be a tough one. So in this video, let's talk about, do you need product owners? In the past, I talked about the differences between product managers and product owners. Should you actually look into having both roles within the same company? There are many talks many times about what is the role of a product owner, how a product owner should work with a product manager, and do you need product owners at all or not? So let's start by the definition of a product owner based on what it's mentioned in scrum.org. A Scrum product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the Scrum team. The product owner is also accountable for effective product backlog management. The reality is that how product owner is defined in some of these cases is like usually it's implying that they own the product, obviously by that title, but it doesn't tell too much about, for example, being the voice of the customer. It might be some definitions out there and some people define it more that way. And it's not necessarily that I have a problem with the title itself. Product owners many times in companies are working together with product managers, and usually what happens is that product managers are people that are working more towards the outside and towards maybe the customers and potentially building the strategy for the product, and then the product owner is looking more into how to build that strategy into features, stories that can be developed then by the engineering team together with the project manager. With the product owner. And this is a very typical way of working in many companies out there. For me, this causes a problem or a conflict of interest of who is responsible for what. I think that the fact of product owners sometimes being just working, facing inwards by just basically developing and delivering a project means that they are more working as a project manager than they would be working as a product owner. Meaning that the requirements for the product and the understanding of the problem that the user has doesn't come from the product owner, and it comes typically from the product manager. The reality is that a product person should be able to have that communication with the customer, understand that problem, take those deep researches and deep dives on those problems that the users have, because as always, it's very important to understand the problem that the user has. Typically with the more traditional approach for product owners, what happens is that the study, or maybe not a lack of a study, has already happened. And what has happened now is that there's already a proposal of a solution. That means that the product owner already gets a solution that has been described and that has been outlined by a product manager, which means that the product owner doesn't have part in that process anymore. And usually this is a big problem in my opinion. And you could argue that in some cases, you as a product manager or a product owner, you're not even going to define the solution. It might be that the product designer, depends on the organization that you have, is the one that is building the solution, not yourself. So then at that point, the product owner ends up being just a project manager who is just managing the project of building that feature or solution. So I think that if you think about just having a product owner in the company and only having product owners and not having product managers, I don't see any problem with that. I think that for me, I see very little difference, honestly, between a product owner and a product manager when it comes to the actual description or the actual work that they are doing. For me, in the end, they're pretty much the same. Some cases you can say that product owner is just a role within a Scrum or within Agile, and that it doesn't necessarily have to be an actual job or a position. The position would be the product manager, and then they are acting within the Scrum team as a product owner. And that's completely fine. I don't think that there's a problem with that. I understand that some people might be a little bit more traditional when it comes to the titles. Some might have a problem with that. But I don't see that there is a problem when you have just that one person that is trying to take that focus and understanding the whole process, from understanding the problems, that the problems they don't have to find themselves, they will come from many different places, and then also being able to work together with the rest of the team in building the potential solution or defining the solution. My problem usually comes if you have two roles that are kind of, one might be more facing towards outside and one might be facing more towards inside. Then there is very blurred lines of where the responsibilities fall, and honestly, in the end, the product owner ends up being a little bit of a project manager and not necessarily a product owner. So do you need a product owner? Damn, that's a difficult answer to give. Yes, if you only have product owners. No, if you want to have product owners and product managers. Honestly, I don't see that there is the need for that. In that case, your product managers basically are not taking ownership of the role. But of course, this is just my opinion. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that product owners and product managers working together makes a lot of sense and is great if you're working with SAFe? That might be the case. I would argue that that's maybe a little bit traditional way of working. But of course, you might think differently. If you like the content, if you like this video, and if you especially agree with me that product owners are great, but if they are only working alone and you don't have product managers and product owners, because that probably is not the best solution, give a thumbs up to the video. If you like the content that I do for this channel, I would appreciate it a lot if you subscribe to it. If you want to hear more about the differences between product managers and product owners, go check out this video. I will see you in the next one, and remember, stay safe.